What would you do if you woke up and realized all 17 of your students had mysteriously disappeared, except for one boy? This story begins with a young girl narrating an incident that happened in her town 2 years ago. One day, a teacher named Justine arrived at her class only to find the room empty, except for one boy, Alex Lilly. The young girl mentions that only Justine's class was empty that day, and explains that the previous night at 2:17 a.m., every other child woke up, left their beds, walked out of their houses into the dark, and never came back. A massive search party was launched, and even the school went into lockdown because of the mysterious incident. The police decided to question the only kid left behind, Alex, hoping to understand why the other children had vanished. But Alex claimed he had no idea. They also questioned Justine, but she was just as clueless. A month later, the education board decided to reopen the school because the remaining kids needed to continue their studies. They organized a big meeting to honor the missing children and help everyone process their grief. At the meeting, the school principal, Marcus, speaks about everyone's pain and tries to sympathize with the parents. But one parent interrupts, demanding to know how it was possible that 17 kids vanished from one single class. He accuses Justine of knowing what really happened, and soon the rest of the crowd joins in, blaming her. Justine eventually steps to the podium but struggles with nervousness. She feels as if she is trapped in a lion's den, surrounded by angry beasts ready to pounce. The furious parents and guardians call her a liar as she speaks. Before things escalate further, the principal intervenes and leads the shaken young teacher out of the building, while parents shout curses at her from behind. Later that evening, Justine stops at a liquor store, where she receives a strange call from an unknown number. Back at home, she hears knocks on her door, but when she checks the window, no one is there. Moments later, another knock sends her reaching for a weapon. She rushes outside, only to find her car vandalized with the word witch painted across it. The next morning, she tries to clean off the paint but gives up and drives the car to school. There, Marcus tells her to take some time off, explaining that the parents are too emotional because of the tragedy. Justine asks if she could at least speak with Alex, since she has never gotten the chance after the incident. But Marcus refuses, saying Alex had already been traumatized by the press and the police, and warns Justine to stay away from him. As Justine walks away, students stare at her judgmentally. Later, she goes to a bar, where her married ex-boyfriend Paul meets her. Paul sympathizes with her situation, blaming the hostility she's facing on people's grief. Justine shifts the topic, asking about his wife, Donna. Paul admits they aren't talking, and Justine uses the moment to flirt. The two end up spending the night together. The next morning, Justine drives Paul to work. On the way, they discuss the missing kids. Paul tells her to stay away from the case and let the police handle it. But once Paul steps out of the car, Justine's determined expression revealed she has no intention of backing down. At school, she sits in her car watching Alex board the bus. She follows it to his home and sees him go inside. She approaches the house, rings the doorbell, but gets no answer. She notices newspapers covering the windows, so she checks around the back. Peering through the glass, she spots two people sitting motionless inside. The sight makes her jump back in fear. Looking again, she sees them still sitting unnervingly still, which unsettles her even more. Shaken, she calls Marcus to report what she had seen. Marcus argues, reminding her not to interfere with Alex, but after going back and forth, he finally agrees to check on Alex's parents. Later, at a liquor store, Justine is attacked by a furious woman who pours alcohol on her, accusing her of sleeping with Paul. The woman turns out to be Donna, Paul's wife. A worker eventually pulls Donna away, saving Justine. That night, Justine dreams she was back at school. In the empty classroom, the missing kids appear, hunched over their desks as if asleep. Suddenly, one of them raises his head, revealing a terrifying face. She jolts awake in terror, scanning her dark room until she calms down enough to sleep again. The next day, Justine finally found Alex and tries to speak with him. But Alex shouts at her to leave him alone before running into the house. Justine stays outside his home all day, eventually falling asleep in her car. That night, Alex's door creaks open, and a woman steps out, moving in an eerie, unnatural way. She creeps toward Justine's car, holding a weapon. Entering the vehicle, the woman leans over and cuts off a lock of Justine's hair. The scene shifts to Archer, a parent of one of the missing kids. He sits at home, replaying footage from his house camera, watching as his child runs out into the darkness. Afterwards, he heads to the police station, where he meets Ed, the police captain. Ed updates Archer on the ongoing investigation and the search parties tirelessly working to find the missing kids. Archer presses him about Justine, insisting she is the culprit and mastermind behind the disappearances. He claims that Justine was removed from her previous school for improper behavior. The scene flashes back to the first school meeting, revealing that Archer was the man who confronted the principal. Afterward, he followed Justine to her house, and the camera lingers on the paint cans in Archer's trunk, implying he was the one who vandalized Justine's car. Back at home, Archer continues analyzing the footage from the night of the incident, desperate to uncover something new. He eventually falls asleep but wakes suddenly at 2:17 a.m. To his horror, he looks at his bed and sees himself still lying there asleep. Startled, he hears the voice of his son Matthew calling. He rushes downstairs and out onto the porch, where he sees Matthew running into the darkness. Archer chases after him, shouting his name, until the pursuit leads him to a house resembling Alex's. On the roof, he spots a massive gun with 217 glowing. He ventures inside, climbs the stairs, and finds Matthew asleep in a room. Archer breaks down, begging his son to show him where he is. Suddenly, a jump scare jolts Archer awake. It was only a dream. Determined, Archer begins an investigation of his own, trying to trace where Matthew was running in his dream. He visits Gary and Erica, parents of another missing child, and asks to see their home surveillance footage. They agree, and Archer notices that the children's running paths all converge on the same area. He marks the location on a map but can't yet determine their exact destination. Later, while driving, Archer spots Justine's car pulling into a gas station. He decides to stop and confront her. Approaching, he tells her they need to talk. Justine, already worn down from constant threats, argues with him. Suddenly, a crazed man bursts in, knocks Archer down, and attacks Justine. Archer manages to fight the man off, giving Justine a chance to escape, but the stranger overpowers Archer and begins strangling him. The story then cuts to Paul, looking bored during his city patrol shift. He eventually spots a man trying to break into a house. A police chase ensues, and Paul finally captures the man, James. During inspection, a syringe pricks Paul's finger and he knocks James out angrily. Panicked, Paul disinfects the wound and realizes his camera recorded everything. Fearing consequences, he disconnects the camera and returns to James, apologizing for hitting him but warning him to never come back to that neighborhood. Back at the station, Paul reports the incident to Ed, who is also his father-in-law. Ed reassures him that if James doesn't file a statement within a month, Paul will be fine. Frustrated, Paul leaves the office but soon spots Justine outside and she waves at him. Later, he receives a text from her, and the story flashes back to the night at the bar where Paul and Justine rekindled their intimacy. The next morning, Justine drops Paul off. But when he returns home, he finds his wife Donna there earlier than expected. Cornered, Paul freezes when she asks where he's been. Unable to think of an excuse, he gives himself away, and Donna realizes the truth. At work, Paul passes by Ed's office, his heart pounding. Outside, he encounters James again. Furious, he yells at him, causing James to flee. Paul rips off his camera, chasing James with violent intent. The story then shifts to James, a homeless drug addict. He calls his contacts, begging for money and promising to repay them once he finds a job. After the call, he breaks into a parked car and steals whatever valuables he can find. He tries to sell them at a local shop, but the owner refuses, recognizing the items as stolen. Frustrated, James roams the streets in search of another target. He comes across a house and as he tries to break in, Paul spots him, causing the chase from earlier. After being realized, James continues roaming the rainy streets in search of another target and he comes across Alex's house. Slipping inside through a window, he explores the living room, spotting a gaming console and browsing through some collectibles. Suddenly, in his peripheral vision, he notices two figures sitting in the room. Startled, he looks closer and realizes it's just a man and woman sitting eerily motionless. Unnerved but undeterred, James continues stealing valuables, this time, silver spoons. As he prepares to leave, a door catches his attention. He opens it, flicks on the light, and descends into the basement. There, he finds all the missing children, standing perfectly still as if waiting for a command. Suddenly, they all turn toward him. Terrified, James bolts out of the house. He eventually makes it back to the shop, where he tries once more to sell the spoons. As the shopkeeper counts them, James notices a poster offering a $50,000 reward for information about the missing kids. Seizing the chance, he rushes to the police station to report what he saw. But Paul sees him arrive and assumes James is filing a complaint against him. Another chase begins. James flees into the woods, where he spots a mysterious woman waving at him. Overcome with fear, he retreats to his tent and zips it shut. Seconds later, a figure begins unzipping the tent. James lunges forward with a syringe, stabbing the intruder. It's Paul, once again injected. Enraged, Paul nearly executes James on the spot, but James pleads, insisting he knows where the children are. Reluctantly, Paul spares him and demands he lead the way. They arrive at a house. Paul knocks, exchanges a few words with someone inside, and enters. James waits in the car as night falls. Eventually, Paul storms out, furious, and drags James out of the vehicle, hauling him inside the house. Now it's Marcus' turn in the story. It begins when Justine calls him after her unsettling encounter at Alex's house. The next day at school, Marcus is informed that someone is here to see him. When he sends for the visitor, we meet the same woman who was in the forest and appeared in both Justine's and Archer's dreams. She introduces herself as Gladys, claiming she is Alex's aunt. Marcus insists he wants to speak with Alex's parents, pointing out that Gladys is not a legal guardian. Gladys replies that Alex's parents are sick, not terminally, but too unwell to leave the house at the moment. As they talk, Gladys notices Marcus' ribbon and a wicked idea crosses her mind. Marcus tells her that if Alex's parents do not come to the school for a meeting, he will have to call the authorities. That Saturday, Marcus and his husband are having dinner when they hear a knock at the door. It's Gladys. She cooks up a story about missing her bus and having to walk all the way to their house. She pretends to be out of breath, and when she asks for water, Marcus tries to refuse, but his husband intervenes and brings her inside. In the kitchen, Gladys claims she has spoken with Alex's father and that he will come on Monday to meet Marcus. Marcus grows uneasy about her presence. When he offers to pour her a glass of water, Gladys suggests he pour it into a bowl instead. He does so, and Gladys pulls out a stick, asking Marcus if he has called the authorities yet. Marcus says not yet, but then notices his ribbon tied around the stick. Gladys suddenly cuts her hand on it, pretending it was an accident. She asks Marcus' husband for a towel, and as he steps forward, she snips off some of his hair. Marcus is about to call 911, but Gladys rings a bell, putting him under a spell. She wraps the husband's hair around a stick and snaps it, causing Marcus to attack his own husband. Under the influence, Marcus vomits on him and headbutts him until he dies. Gladys then takes out Justine's hair and ties it around the stick. When she snaps it, Marcus runs out of the house. The story cuts to Justine and Archer as Marcus suddenly attacks them. Justine flees into a store. After Archer is briefly dealt with, Marcus chases Justine, who cries out for help, but no one comes. He corners her, and just as he's about to grab her, Archer appears again and knocks Marcus into a fridge, sending them both crashing down. Justine escapes, gets into a car, and drives away while Marcus chases after her on foot. Archer regains consciousness, jumps into his car, and follows. Marcus runs into a red light and is struck by an oncoming vehicle. At the hospital, Justine thanks Archer for his help, but Archer says it was no big deal. They discuss Marcus' strange behavior, and Justine notes he was fine the last time she spoke to him. Archer remarks that Marcus was running in the exact same way the kids had run on the night of their disappearance. He takes Justine to his car and shows her the map he has been working on. He doesn't know where the lines lead, but Justine immediately recognizes the address. It's Alex's house. The story shifts to Alex, a quiet kid who is often bullied by classmates. One day after school, his father picks him up and tells him that Alex's aunt, Gladys, will be staying with them for a while. Alex doesn't know who she is and feels uncomfortable. His father admits he doesn't know her well either, but insists she is family. That evening, Alex sees his father helping the frail, sickly woman into their house. The next morning, Alex overhears his parents discussing her condition. His father argues that she should be in a hospital because her health is deteriorating, but his mother insists that Gladys must stay home so they can take care of her. Curious, Alex peeks into her room and finds her in a dreadful state. After school, Alex comes home to find his parents sitting motionless at the dinner table, speaking as if under a spell. Just then, Gladys enters, looking far healthier than before. She tries to speak with Alex, but he snaps at her. He tries to wake his father, even pouring water on him, but nothing works. Finally, Gladys loses patience and orders Alex to sit down. She demonstrates her power by pricking her finger, smearing blood on a twig, and snapping it. Immediately, Alex's parents grab forks and stab their own faces. Alex screams for her to stop, and she eventually does. She warns him coldly that she can make people do anything, even force his parents to eat each other. She threatens Alex not to tell anyone about what he has seen, or he will regret it. Days pass, and Alex grows even more withdrawn at school. One night, Gladys calls him into her room. She appears sick again and tells Alex she has been unwell for a very long time. She claims she thought his parents would be enough to sustain her, but they are not, and now Alex must help her. She instructs him to bring home something from each of his classmates. The next day, Alex notices the children's boxes with their names on them. During break, he sneaks back in, rips off all the name tags, and stuffs them in his bag just as Justine walks in. She asks if he's okay, noticing how quiet he's been, but Alex brushes her off and leaves. At home, he delivers the names to Gladys. That night, at 2:15 a.m., Alex wakes and sees her performing a ritual. She tears the children's names, spits into a bowl, and rings a bell. One by one, the missing kids leave their houses and run straight into Alex's home. The next day, Alex goes to school as if nothing happened, making him the only one present. When the investigation begins, Gladys accompanies Alex's father, claiming he is sick and unable to speak. One day, when Alex returns home, he finds a police car parked outside. Inside, he sees Paul standing motionless. Panicked, Alex rushes upstairs and finds Gladys, who coldly tells him to go to bed, and warns him not to disturb the salt line. That night, Archer and Justine arrive at Alex's house. They notice the police car outside and debate whether to knock. As they talk, they see a policeman walk out of the house. Justine recognizes him. It's Paul. They decide to enter. Inside, Justine encounters Paul but doesn't notice the salt line. When she crosses it, Paul attacks her. Archer tries to intervene but is ambushed by James. As they struggle, Alex heads toward Gladys' room, only to be chased by his parents after stepping across the salt barrier. He flees to his room, but they pound on the door until it splinters. Meanwhile, Archer and James' fight leads them to the basement, where Archer discovers the missing children. Justine, meanwhile, struggles desperately against Paul, who strangles her. She reaches for his gun and fires, killing him. She then finds Archer and shoots James, saving him just in time. Archer rushes toward the basement, while Justine goes to the kitchen, where she mourns her ex-boyfriend. In the basement, Archer searches for his son Matthew but is attacked by Gladys. She rips away his chain, then casts her spell, forcing Archer to attack Justine. Under her control, he strangles her as Gladys watches in delight. At the same time, Alex sneaks into Gladys' room and finds her stick and wig. He hides in the bathroom as his parents try to break in. Desperate, Alex pricks his finger, smears blood on the stick, ties a strand of Gladys' hair to it, and snaps it. Gladys immediately senses the danger. She hears the children rushing up from the basement and flees. But the kids catch her and tear her apart, breaking her spell once and for all. Marcus regains his senses and follows the trail of destruction until he finally finds his son, Matthew. Justine searches the house and discovers Alex upstairs, clinging to his parents, who are now left in a catatonic state. As Archer carries Matthew home, the narrator explains that Alex later moved away to live with another aunt after his parents were institutionalized. The children were eventually reunited with their families, some even regained their voices.